Top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippines stands to lose billions of pesos in tourism revenue should China decide to exclude Chinese nationals from visiting the Philippines amid the continuing POGO operations in the country. President Bongbong Marcos dealt with the administration's plan to expand and modernize the maritime and aviation industries. Luzon residents told to prepare as tropical depression Maymay steadily approaches. The United Nations and the Red Cross has warned heat waves will become so extreme in parts of Africa and Asia within decades that human life there will be unsustainable. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, October 11, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. First in the news, the State Meteorological Agency issued a warning about potential heavy rainfall and high gusts in some areas of northern and central Luzon as tropical depression Maymay steadily approaches the nation's mainland. Residents who had previously experienced Super Typhoon Karding are once more being urged to get ready for the typhoon. Ray Pelayo reports.
Tropical Depression Maymay is predicted to make landfall over the Aurora, Quezon area tomorrow afternoon or evening. Even though it won't be as strong as the Super Typhoon Karding, it is anticipated to drop heavy rains in areas along its path.
Pinapayuhan natin yung mga kababayan natin dun sa Northern Luzon, yung Cagayan, Isabela area, na paghandaan po yung papalapit na bagyong si Maymay.
Local governments that could be affected by the cyclone were already advised to prepare, specifically those prone to landslide and flash floods. Maymay is projected to affect the same area Super Typhoon Karding crossed, from which some are still not completely restored.
Based sa assessment ng Pag-asa, wala masyadong threat ito on the wind, but pwedeng localized flooding ay mangyari or landslide.
In order to save their produce, the Department of Agriculture advises farmers to harvest early. Although Karding had caused damage to the agriculture in the majority of Central Luzon, DA has options to supply food to Metro Manila.
Meron po tayong mga natamaan nung nakaraang bagyo, pero what we are trying to do now is to find more sources ng gulay from other regions para po mas dumami yung supply dito sa Metro Manila, and that will also influence yung ating presyo.
By Thursday, another tropical cyclone is anticipated to approach the Philippine area of responsibility. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Chinese embassy is looking forward to more Chinese nationals to enter the Philippines in the coming years. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
The Philippines is set to lose billions of pesos from its tourism revenue should China decide to blacklist the country to Chinese nationals. This comes after Senate President Juan Miguel Migzubiri disclosed in today's Senate hearing that the Philippines is now part of China's blacklisted tourist sites due to continued operations of the Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs.
The Master Wang said that the Philippines now is part of a blacklist of tourist sites because they do not know if the tourists going there will be operating or will be joining POGO operations. And they do not know if their nationals, the Chinese nationals who go to the Philippines, will be safe from illegal activities being done by the triad, by the syndicates operating POGO.
And information from the office of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, who chairs the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, shows that the Philippines may lose up to 140 billion pesos of tourism revenues should the country becomes blacklisted to Chinese tourists. This is equivalent to 21.1% of total tourism spending in the country. This estimated losses was derived from the pre-pandemic arrival of Chinese tourists in 2019 at more than 1.7 million. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy hopes that more Chinese nationals will visit the Philippines after the pandemic. In a statement released by Chinese Ambassador Huang Xilian, it recognizes that tourism is an important component between China and the Philippines, but no categorical answer was made whether or not the Philippines is indeed blacklisted to Chinese tourists. It also noted that China has been the second largest source of tourists in the Philippines and that they expect more Chinese nationals to visit the country soon. Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
At the 11th cabinet meeting, which was held at the Malacañang Palace, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. dealt with the administration's plan to expand and modernize the maritime and aviation industries. Nel Maribuhok reports why.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. wishes to improve the tourism sector in the nation. At his 11th cabinet meeting today, the president directed the Department of Transportation to maintain the country's port efficient to attract more cruise ships that will boost tourism. The current airports need to be upgraded and modernized, according to the president. He also floated the idea to build more airports in various places in the country.
Inutusan ng Pangulong DOTR na tutukan ang pag-upgrade ng Manila Airport upang matugunan ang lumalaking demand. Kasama din dyan ang pag-aaral sa mga existing unsolicited proposals para i-modernize ang mga existing airports at i-upgrade ito at magtayo ng mga bagong airports sa iba't ibang lugar sa bansa.
Aside from that, PBBM directed Marina to resolve the issues on the quality of education in the maritime sector.
Inutusan din niya ang Marina na i-address ang problema ukol sa mga eskwelahan na hindi nagko-comply sa educational quality standards base sa international requirements at guidelines.
In order to maintain the nation's position as the top supplier of seafarers in the world, Yusek Garafil stated that President Marcos Jr. wants to improve the capabilities of maritime schools in the nation and to fix training programs to give the students an edge and put them to international standards. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority plans to put policies in place to avoid high traffic on EDSA and other key thoroughfares in Metro Manila during the holiday season. JP Nunez reports.
A plan to reduce traffic during the holiday season has already been developed, according to the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. One of the plans, according to MMDA spokeswoman Attorney Melissa Carunungan, is to change the operating hours of malls from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. They also want to limit the number of motorists using the major thoroughfares in Metro Manila, especially EDSA, by setting holiday sales to only take place on weekends.
Yung pinag-usapan nila is regarding sana yung mga sales, sana sa weekends na lang at kailangan po magbigay ng mga malls ng traffic management plan sa MMDA.
Attorney Melissa says they expect a 10% increase in the volume of vehicles in EDSA during the holiday season. This is approximately 50,000 vehicles. As of today, the MMDA has already noted daily traffic volume that has surpassed pre-pandemic levels. The daily average of vehicles traveling EDSA reaches more than 410,000 as of last September this year, which is about 5,000 higher before COVID-19 pandemic hits the country.
Before, mga 400,000 na sasakyan a day, tas ngayon medyo ganun rin. Before, maybe the highest mga 405,000. Ngayon, medyo same. Although, umabot ng 410,000. Pero on average pa rin yun.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Russia unleashes its biggest attack in months. Over 10 regions in Ukraine were hit by missiles, many of which were far from the war's front lines, killing 14 people. Cherise Longbowen will tell us the details live. Yes, Cherise?
Good evening, Elsie. The Crimea Bridge attack triggered Moscow to retaliate and unleash its biggest strike, spanning from Lviv in the west to Kharkiv in the east. Reports said a lethal barrage hit civilian areas, shattered buildings, including a university and a playground, and knocked out water and power lines, plunging much of Ukraine into a blackout. The attacks were launched from the air, sea, and land in the morning rush hour, wounding 100 people and killing 14, Ukraine's emergency service said. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the missiles targeted key energy infrastructure and military command facilities as a retaliation for what he claimed were Kyiv's terrorist actions for repelling Moscow's invasion and for the recent Crimea Bridge explosion. But a senior advisor to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, Andriy Mak, said the strikes had no practical military sense. Meanwhile, United Nations rejects Russia's call for a secret vote on whether to condemn Moscow's move to annex 4 partially occupied regions in Ukraine. 107 votes out of 193 were in favor to hold a public vote versus a secret ballot. 13 countries voted against, 39 abstained, and the remaining chose not to vote. The UN will hold a public vote on a draft resolution that would condemn Russia's so-called referenda and attempted annexation on Wednesday. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Cherise Longbowen, for that live report. Almost 20% of Australia's COVID vaccine supply last month have been thrown away, while experts warn of a fresh wave of cases in the next month. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Maeve?
Elsie, Australia's steady supply of COVID-19 vaccines met a decline in demand back in September, with 17.6% of the country's national stockpile were thrown out due to being unused as less and less eligible Australians availed their booster shots. Last year in October, Australia recorded only 1 to 2% wastage rate. Latest data shows that since the vaccine rollout in February last year, 95% of Australians had their first 2 doses, while 72% acquired their third and only 40% got their 4th shot. A modeling from the University of South Australia suggests that these gaps in immunization will leave Australia open for a new wave of COVID cases next month and potentially an increase in hospitalizations. The new wave will unlikely be as high as the peak from the BA.5 Omicron strain, but Professor Adrian Esterman of the University of South Australia warns of at least 4 subvariants that are already in Australia and are more transmissible. He added that without any boosters, people would have minimal defense from the new variants. Meanwhile, the Department of Health said wastage in vaccination programs is expected and that they are ensuring vaccine stocks are distributed effectively. Before the end of the year, Australia is expecting millions more vaccines to arrive in the country. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Elsie. The Department of Education that it will look into alleged food poisoning incident at the San Francisco Elementary School in Sabaylian, Occidental Mindoro, which resulted in the hospitalization of at least 100 pupils and instructors. Janice Inhente reports.
After the Sablayan Occidental Mindoro incident of suspected food poisoning affecting 97 students, including 6 teachers and 5 barangay residents, the Department of Education reiterates its directive in Department Order No. 8 Series of 2007 prohibiting outside vendors from selling food inside school grounds. According to DepEd spokesperson attorney Michael Poa, based on the initial report, a vendor came into the San Francisco Elementary School on Monday morning to sell lumpia and turon. 31 of the 97 students and teachers who were ill during the incident are still being treated in hospitals. POA stated that the agency will begin investigating the situation to look into potential sanctions against the mentioned school for allowing outside vendors to sell inside the building.
Kami po sa Department of Education, finally, maglulunsad din po tayo ng investigation sa nangyari na yan. Bakit? Dahil ayon po sa Department Order Number 8, Series of 2007, hindi po dapat tayo pumapayag na may mga outside vendors na pumapasok sa ating mga paaralan para magbenta ng pagkain.
DepEd is still awaiting the food sample result to identify what caused the food poisoning. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla attended the 51st regular session of the Human Rights Council and asserted that the Philippines Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020 is replete with human rights safeguards. Dante Amento reports why.
In front of the UN Human Rights Committee, Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla addressed several criticisms of the Philippine anti-terrorism law. Remulla stressed the country took 13 years to create a better anti-terrorism response through legislation. The law received some national consultations and even the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the law.
The anti-terror law was passed in consultation with the civil society organizations throughout the Philippines. This was not passed overnight. The first anti-terror law, the Human Security Act, was passed in 2007.
Remulla also clarified that protest action is not terrorism as it is expressly defined in Section 4 of the law.
It excludes advocacy, protest, dissent, stoppage of work, industrial or mass action, and other similar exercises of civil and political rights from the definition of terrorism. This is a misplaced impression given to our friends here.
The UN has also recently criticized Section 29 of the ATL for the warrantless arrest provision, which allows for the detention of a suspected terrorist for up to 24 days, even without a court complaint. The Justice Chief said that in relation to the Philippines, other countries' anti-terrorism laws impose longer period of detention.
In Indonesia, 21 days, which can be extended for another 120 days. In Pakistan, it's for 30 days. Malaysia can detain people without a warrant for 59 days. Extendable up to 2 years. Singapore can detain a person for 730 days to an indefinite period of detention of suspects deemed to be threats to national security. In the Philippines, it is 14 days, extendable for another 10 days.
Meanwhile, Remulla stated before the United Nations that the Philippines is the country that is best at protecting its citizens. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, television host and comedian Ferdinand Vhong Navarro refused to enter any plea in the rape case filed by model Denise Cornejo. Navarro was arraigned today, October 11, at the Taguig Regional Trial Court Branch 69. He did not appear personally, but was arraigned through video conferencing, an arrangement that was approved by the court based on Supreme Court rules. Alma Malyonga, the TV host lawyer, said Navarro did not enter any plea during the arraignment. As a result, the court entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. On the other hand, the court did not allow Cornejo to attend the arraignment via video conferencing. She also failed to show up in person. Navarro is currently detained at the National Bureau of Investigation Detention Center in Manila. The Taguig RTC Branch 69 issued a non-bailable warrant of arrest against Navarro for the rape case on September 19. The Philippine National Police said it will provide security to journalists who receive threats or are being harassed. PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. told journalists to report immediately to authorities if they feel any threat against their security.
Kung may mga suspect po kayo na napaghihinalaan, at least makita po natin kagad or maimbestigahan po natin. At kung kinakailangan nga na magkaroon din po kayo ng security, then we will provide one for you.
NCRPO Director Brigadier General Jonel Estomo said he has tapped all district directors and station commanders of the 5 police districts in Metro Manila to initiate a dialogue with newspaper reporters, broadcasters, and other media practitioners to determine imminent threats, if any, and address their security concerns accordingly. The directive was in compliance with the pronouncement of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to ensure the safety and security of all media practitioners in the country.
Silent killer heat waves were recently flagged by humanitarian organizations as another outcome of climate change many will soon be facing. Nerissa Dando will tell us why. Nerissa?
Good evening, Elsie. In a report released by the United Nations and Red Cross, heat waves are expected to become more extreme and eventually exceed human limits in the coming decades. The heat waves are predicted to be so intense that it will not be able to sustain human life and will cause large-scale suffering across many regions. Agricultural workers, elderly, pregnant women, and children are at highest risk of illness and death.
We know that in the coming decades, heat waves are predicted to meet and exceed human physiological and social limits.
Particularly in the regions of West Africa and Southeast Asia, the report showed a total population of people living in extreme heat conditions are expected to multiply up to 700% by the year 2050. Death rates will also multiply, largely unmatched by those caused by cancer and other infectious diseases. The humanitarian organizations are calling for aggressive steps to be taken against the silent killer. UN Humanitarian Chief Martin Griffiths said that the system cannot simply handle this crisis on their own. Climate adaptation techniques can include providing early information to communities and authorities for effective mitigation steps, local-level funding for active measures, and installing emergency shelters or cooling centers. Energy-consuming air conditioners are discouraged as they distribute climate change themselves. Elsie?
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that live report. Influenza cases are rising in the United States as the country prepares for a potentially severe season. According to the latest data from Centers for Disease Control or Prevention, there were 909 cases of influenza A and 52 cases of influenza B were reported during the week ending October 1. Outpatient visits for influenza-like illnesses have particularly risen for ages 4 younger to more than 120,000, a 25.5% spike from visits from August 6. The CDC has previously warned the U.S. may see a harsh flu season after few no cases were reported over the last 2 years. Every year, Filipino comic book artists go to New York's Jacob Javits Convention Center to attend New York Comic Convention. The number of attendees at the convention has increased dramatically over the years as they appreciate the sights and sounds, mostly views, that their fellow guests and their idols deliver. Clarence Shaughnessy has the report.
Thousands of people gathered at the Big Apple for the past 4 days to join the 2022 Comic Convention in Javits Center, Manhattan, New York, USA. Different showings and speakers were present in the event, along with artists in the entertainment industry, including comics, anime, manga, video games, and many more. Also included in the event were Filipino artists who showcased their talents and contributions in the industry. This included Ace Continuado, a comic artist all the way from California.
Right now,
Nakataya up ako with a graphic novel. So it's a long haul. Phenom Comics, and also gumagawa kami ng Sacred Band of Thieves. And also a few independent publishers na I'll be doing covers.
Additionally, Abigail Diaz, or better known as a freelance Filipino artist Sarah Fleur, attended the event showing her digital art with the use of Photoshop.
So far, I've already worked with various companies like Marvel and mobile game companies, tsaka voice actresses from video games, animes.
According to the advice of the two artists who wants to become an artist of their own, to continue to practice and to believe in oneself as a Filipino.
My advice is to practice, really practice, draw a lot. It takes so much time. It took me years to be where I am right now. So really takes patience, practice. You have to be motivated and discipline.
Dedication. Yun ang ano ko. Ang Pilipino, magaling sa lahat. Pero minsan sa buhay natin, especially during COVID, we have stresses from life and other things. And ngayon, we just need to focus. Minsan mahirap talaga mag-focus pero if you believe in yourself enough to push yourself to be the best that you can be, magagawa ng Pilipino yun. I know it.
Meanwhile, a tribute was held for South Korean artist Kim Jong-gi, known for his highly detailed illustrations using ink and brush artistic style. According to his Instagram account, Jung-gi just finished his Europe tour and was heading to New York City for the comic convention when he experienced chest pain and was rushed to the hospital. There, he sadly passed away at the age of 47. Clarence Shaughnessy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
The Bureau of Quarantine was asked to examine the specifics of the One Health Pass for COVID-19. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains why.
Travelers, particularly international arrivals, raised complaints against the inconvenience they experience in the implementation of the One Health Pass. The Department of Health recognizes the issues, including the several information the system requires from every passenger. While international arrivals go through validations online and upon reaching the airport, which results to long queues of passengers. DOH officer in charge, Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, said they are already coordinating with concerned government agencies to make the screening system more efficient and convenient to travelers.
So we already have instructed the Bureau of Quarantine that iayos lang yung pagpapatupad, hindi na kailangan binavalidate pa pagdating sa airport. Also pinag-usapan sa IATF noong October 4 and the Bureau of Quarantine was instructed already to review the details included into the One Health Pass.
In a statement, Senator Nancy Binay calls for the lifting of One Health Pass, explaining it is no longer practical aside from the inconvenience it brings, particularly to overseas Filipino workers and other returning Filipinos. It may also drive away potential tourists despite no guarantee of its effectiveness. The DOH, however, emphasizes the importance of the online database system in tracking possible carriers of diseases and for contact tracing efforts.
Ang One Health Pass po was instituted or implemented so that we can be able to have a database centralized ng lahat ng pumapasok or the entries of travelers going to or inside the Philippines.
The BOQ, together with the Department of Tourism and Department of Information and Communications Technology, are scheduled to meet on Thursday to discuss and find ways to improve the One Health Pass system. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, tropical depression Maymay barely moved over the Philippine Sea on Tuesday afternoon. In a bulletin issued by Pag-asa, Maymay was located 265 kilometers east of Casiguran, Aurora. It has a maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour. Maymay is expected to make landfall in Aurora by Wednesday evening to early Thursday morning. It will then cross central Luzon. Moderate to heavy rain can be expected in Cagayan, northern part of Isabela, Batanes, and Apayao. Moderate rain with at times heavy rain can be expected in Aurora, Abra, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ilocos Norte, and the rest of Isabela. Signal number 1 is up for Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, extreme northern part of Quezon, including Polillo Islands. Pag-asa also advised fishing boats and other small vessels not to sail and for larger vessels to watch out for bigger waves. Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 12. It says, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. And those are the reasons behind the news, October 11, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.